Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, folks. Michael Zuber, One Rental at a Time, back with his good friend and mentor, Mr. Greg Dickerson. How you doing, sir?
Doing great, Michael. Good to see you.
Yes, and you are my mentor. I know we've never had that real conversation, but you clearly helped me out so much over the last 2 years. I just wanted people to realize that's how I see our relationship. So thank you for that.
Yeah, awesome, man. I'm glad to do it. And, thank you for taking action and putting it into action.
Yeah, I'm trying, man. Every day I call myself a hammer because daily activity is something I am uniquely gifted at. It's just in my DNA. I don't know what happened. It's kind of funny. But what I thought I would talk about here is a real estate crash. Real estate crash is a pretty hot topic. I've lived through, invested through, and profited wildly from one. I believe we could be having the greatest real estate crash ever in China right now. It's kind of going that direction. And I want to talk about the signs, how they start, how they get worse, and ultimately how people profit from it. Sound like a good topic?
Yeah, let's do it.
So when you think about the Great Recession and you think about our crash first, because again, my market went down 75%. No matter how you slice it, 75% fall is a crash. I invested through that environment. The biggest thing in our environment, I believe, that caused that crash was people were getting loans that shouldn't have. And that went on longer than it should. Ultimately, we went to 50% adjustable rate mortgages were initiated versus fixed. And that's where it started. And then when that cracked, it got worse. So is that how you remember the Great Recession starting?
Yeah, it was a debt issue. Yeah, bad loans, bad debt. It was short-term interest-only loans. And then when interest rates started shooting up, that kind of triggered default across the board. Mostly in the residential market. The commercial market was under stress as well, but the banks were more careful with the commercial assets that were struggling versus the residential, because those loans oftentimes were handled a little bit differently, and different set of investors and those that were in these residential mortgages that were carved up into derivatives. The thing was, it was not only bad loans, not only bad debt, but it was all levered up, 1,000-fold throughout the system. That's what really took it down, because of all of the leverage that was out there that had to unwind. The Chinese debt market and the Chinese, issue that they're having in their real estate market is probably a little bit different. They're probably not quite leveraged as much, but it is still a bad debt because, they just overbuilt, which that was the other side of the coin to it. 2008 and 9, we had a big, building boom. So we were overbuilt. We had communities with thousands and thousands of homes sitting vacant that ultimately ended up getting demolished because it was more expensive to keep them and maintain them than to just let them sit. But long story short, it's overbuilding, oversupply, bad debt, bad loan products, bad borrowers. That's typically what creates that snowball. And we're seeing it in China. The United States is a little bit different because we have such a lack of inventory right now, such a huge demand. But short-term low interest is a catalyst for bad things to happen if rates rise and some of these loans reset down the road 3, 4, 5 years from now.
Yeah. The other thing that I've seen, again, that lead up to a crash is the buyer, right? It could be the owner or the investor. They bet on appreciation or future values over cash flow. One of the things that I did not appreciate in China before this Evergrande thing brought it front and center is in China, lots of people own more than one, but they're vacant. They're vacant, Greg. They're not producing income. So it is a store of wealth in good times, but becomes an anchor in bad times, right? Betting on appreciation, no matter where you are, eventually kicks you in the teeth. Is that fair?
Yeah. I mean, it's really interesting what they did and how they've done it, because at a time they were limiting the number of children you could have, which limits the population, which limits the number of buyers you can have.
Exactly.
But then they went and just built and built and built, and they limited the number of properties people could buy. So then they all of a sudden started saying, look, you need to go buy these properties. So they increased that. Now they're allowing people to have more kids. It's really interesting what they've done and how they've done it. And then when you look at what they're doing now around the world with their trade policy and the things that they're banning, I just don't understand the thinking, behind the the lines there and behind the scenes. But there's a big issue. The question is, how's the government going to respond? How far are they going to let it go? And what are they going to do about it? And at the end of the day, it's, it's a communist government. They'll just step in, take it all over, and, do what they did before and just sit on it.
Yeah. So the other thing that is interesting about housing crashes is there's always something that's the crack, right? So I think Evergrande was the crack, vacant homes, store of wealth. Here it was our debt structure. But then there's momentum. Momentum is what took my market down 75%. Momentum in China is just starting. What do I mean by momentum? Is at some point, the buyer, the individual citizen, me, you, someone in China goes, real estate is a bad investment. It goes from, hey, we're going to buy real estate because it's a store of wealth. And we've learned over the last decade or 20 years, if you want to be wealthy, you own real estate. 2, real estate is toxic. People are going to surf the internet for stories of people losing their butt. And pretty soon the buyers stop buying. And that's ultimately what's going to kill property developers in China, because their cash flow statements are going to starve and they're going to run out of cash, because the top of the cash flow statement is a property sale. And then they pay the debt, they pay the employees, they pay the suppliers. If you don't sell, you just starve, right? Your cash flow starves you. So that's where real estate crashes gain momentum, is when the individual buyer sitting around talking to their family, their friends goes, wow, real estate sucks. And then that just builds on itself. And that's where the tsunami crests and my market crashed 75%. Does that make sense?
Yeah. And it's just beginning there. And it's in the big commercial
beginning.
markets with the big developers. And, but the real question is, what are they going to do about it when it happens? The government, versus the United States in terms of loans and bailouts over there, they'll just take it. They'll just step in and take it.
Yeah.
You're out of business. You're gone. You might disappear.
You might disappear. Yeah.
It's really interesting. Hey, anybody that, opposes them or goes against it in that country, I mean, that's what they do. They just take you and put you in jail. Look at the tennis star, that disappeared, and,
Crazy.
Jack Ma, I mean, it's very interesting how they're alienating themselves in the world of business, and even amongst their own people.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So again, there's a crack. Then there's momentum. Right now in China, they're in the momentum phase. And given what I see going on in China, this tsunami is going, right now it's sucking. If you know how a tsunami works, right? The water is receding from the beach. And it's going to recede for quite a while. And then it's just going to come and wave over. So you're going to see some pretty significant price drops, sale drops, all of these things. You're already seeing it in different reports. But I do want everybody to realize that eventually, real estate will come back, right? My market, which fell 75%, is now up 30 or 35% from the past peak. And again, in China, as you've said a couple of times, they could come in and go, great, we own it all. Now what? Right?
Yeah. And it's interesting. We have models to look at. So real estate can be the greatest thing ever. It can be the best, vehicle to build wealth, store wealth, grow your wealth over the long term. But we've also seen examples of where it can also backfire and take you down.
Yeah.
Japan, Dubai recently, China now, the United States 0809. And we're back in that period where it's a very dangerous time if you're speculating and expecting exponential increases in value like we've experienced over the last few years, and especially this last year, because it's artificial. There's been so much liquidity pumped in the markets. Interest rates have been held artificially low for so long. That's what's pushing values. That's what's pushing prices. And it's all it is. Even the commercial world, with, cap rates on commercial multifamily, record lows. Why? Because interest rates are record lows.
Yeah.
They're directly, inversely related.
Yes.
As cap rates, as interest rates rise, cap rates rise. As interest rates drop, cap rates drop. And cap rates aren't that important at the end of the day, but in general, it's market sentiment. It's how you value assets, and it's directly related. Just like in residential, I've talked about it. It's all about the payments. I know there's debate out there about that, but I've seen it. 0809. That's what took that market down. Interest rates went up. You couldn't borrow money, and as rates went up, values went down. And that that will happen again at some point, unless we can stay on this path. And that's the question that's really out there. How long can we keep rates where they are? How long can we keep lending and the liquidity available like we have? And that's the Fed buying mortgage-backed securities. That's the only thing that's kept the money flowing in the mortgage industry is because the Fed's buying them all. So, I don't know how long we can continue on that path. That's what I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah. So again, folks, this video is talking about how crashes start. There's a crack somewhere. I believe momentum is when the individual citizen suddenly says, wow, it's a great investment. No, it's not. And then there's how do you find the bottom? Is it government intervention like it likely will be in China? Is it just a total washout of the leverage in the system in the US? We're going to see. So again, it is going to be very interesting to watch, at least for me, China. Right now, it'll be also interesting the US, what is going on in the interest rates and all of that. So great conversation, Greg. I want to take a quick right turn. One of the followers that have been following us for quite a while wants to give back to the community, wants to give back to you. They've actually reached out to me and purchased a set of books that they would like you, Greg, to give away to someone in your network. If you want to have a contest or there's somebody you want. So I just want to let you know that one of my followers graciously wanted to thank you for all you've done. It's the holidays. So Greg, think about somebody in your network you would like to get autographed sets of my book, One Rental at a Time in 15 Conversations with Real Estate Millionaires, which you are in, by the way. So I just want to let you know that was there as a thank you from me and from this follower. So let us know.
Yeah,
we'll send
absolutely.
it
Yeah, that's awesome, man. I appreciate that.
Awesome. So Greg, how can people follow you and get part of your world?
Yeah, gregdickerson.com. That's where all my information is. Go check it out.
Thanks, buddy. I appreciate it.